Hello and welcome to the Masterclass. I am absolutely thrilled you're here with me today. Listen, we are embarking on a highly strategic, incredibly high-stakes journey right now. Our objective? We are going to completely demystify Cambridge Accounting 9706. And specifically, we are putting a massive spotlight on a topic that literally trips up countless candidates year after year: sources of finance for business entities. My mission in this explainer is crystal clear. I want to equip you with the precise insider framework that we as examiners actually use to award those top-tier marks. We're talking about taking you from a standard textbook understanding to an elite top-band analytical mastery so you can walk into that exam hall with absolute unshakable confidence. Get ready, because we are diving deep into the examiner's lens.
Look at that quote on the screen. Most students lose easy marks. I need you to really absorb that, because this isn't just some empty motivational promise I'm making up. It is a harsh reality drawn directly from the principal examiner reports. Every single year, we sit down to grade and we read the same reports, noting that the vast majority of students are bleeding easy marks on this exact topic. And here is the kicker. It is almost never because they don't know the definitions. It's not because they don't know what a bank loan is or how a share issue works. No, they lose marks because of the structural anatomy of their responses. They lack the strategic playbook. But I'm telling you right now, after this explainer, you absolutely will not be one of them. We are going to reverse engineer the grading process and build a master strategy to elevate your scores.
So let's start by exposing a very uncomfortable truth. Let's ask the question: why exactly do students find multi-stage analysis and method marks so incredibly hard? Think about it. When you are suddenly hit with a complex, high-tariff question, I'm talking about those massive 9 to 15-mark essay or evaluation problems, it is so easy to just completely freeze up. The difficulty doesn't lie in the basic foundational definitions. The real friction lies in the cognitive load of connecting completely different financial concepts under severe time pressure. It's about how well you manage your time and, fundamentally, how you prove your methodology to the examiner. Let me break down the anatomy of the command words, because this is where the exam is won or lost. Examiners look at command words very differently than students do. If a question asks you to analyze, it is demanding that you break down the financial data into its component parts. It wants the how and the why. But if it says evaluate, you must go a massive step further. Evaluation requires judgment. It requires weighing two competing sources of finance against each other and arriving at a justified conclusion. Similarly, explain just wants you to make a concept clear, whereas to what extent forces you to acknowledge counter-arguments and gray areas. Grasping these constraints is the first step to unlocking the top mark band, and solving this exact cognitive overload is what we are conquering today.
Okay, here is our rigorous, time-blocked structural blueprint for today's session. First, core principles. Second, technical methodology. Third, critical evaluation. And finally, examiner traps. Let's get straight to work.
We're starting with Section 1, Core Principles.
Let's talk about the ultimate battle in the exam room: superficial breadth versus analytical depth. To really understand this, I want you to imagine two typical Cambridge candidates. I see these two archetypes in the grading room all the time. Let's call them Alex and Sam. Alex is highly technical. Alex has memorized every formula and every textbook fact. When a question asks to evaluate issuing ordinary shares versus taking out a debenture, Alex writes a massive list of 10 random facts about shares and 10 random facts about debt. But Alex struggles with open-ended evaluation. Then you have Sam. Sam is a creative thinker, strong in arguments and big-picture ideas, but Sam struggles with structural precision and timing. Sam's essay is all over the place. Here's the secret. The Cambridge Assessment Framework strictly prioritizes analytical depth over superficial breadth. Alex's approach of listing 10 random facts, that is superficial breadth. It scores very low. Analytical depth, what the examiner is desperately searching for, means taking just 3 highly relevant points and relentlessly exploring their precise impact on the specific company's gearing, their control, and their future cash flows. It's about showing how concepts transfer to the unfamiliar context of the specific business entity in the prompt. We don't want to see everything you know. We want to see exactly what matters.
Which brings us perfectly to the assessment objectives. You are essentially being tested across 3 distinct cognitive domains, often referred to as AO1, AO2, and AO3. First up, AO1, knowledge and understanding. Can you actually define the terms accurately? Second is AO2, analysis. Can you break down the provided financial data logically? And third, the Holy Grail, AO3, evaluation. Can you weigh the options and make a justified recommendation? Going back to our two candidates, our highly technical candidate Alex usually aces AO1 but hits a massive wall at AO3. Alex gives us facts but no judgment. Our creative candidate Sam often jumps straight to AO3, arguing a point brilliantly but completely neglects to establish the AO1 and AO2 foundation, meaning the argument has no technical backing. Successful top-tier candidates systematically demonstrate competence across all three of these domains. They weave them together perfectly, especially when dealing with the unfamiliar, curveball context you will absolutely face on exam day. You need Alex's technical foundation and Sam's evaluative flair.
Moving right along into Section 2, Technical Methodology.
Stop whatever you're doing and listen closely, because this right here is a massive game changer. I want to introduce you to the method mark strategy. In the Cambridge marking scheme, marks are heavily awarded for demonstrating the correct analytical process, not just producing the final correct numerical answer. Let me repeat that because it's absolutely crucial. Marks are awarded for the process. Let's say you're calculating the new gearing ratio after a proposed rights issue. You punch all the numbers into your calculator in a rush, you write down a single final figure on the exam paper, and you happen to make one tiny accidental arithmetic error. Do you know what you get? You get a 0. Nothing. But if you write out your formula, show your logical, structured reasoning, clear your notation step by step throughout your problem-solving process, the examiner is going to reward your methodology. We will give you those method marks, even if your final digit is slightly off. You have to literally hold the examiner's hand and walk them through your brain. Show your workings. To make sure you capture every single method mark, we formalize this into an actionable 6-step procedural framework. This is how you systematically tackle complex questions. Step 1. Deconstruct the question. You physically highlight the command words. Are you analyzing or evaluating? Step 2. Extract relevant data. Pull the specific figures from the appendices and texts. Step 3. Select the appropriate analytical framework. Now, before we hit Step 4, where the execution actually happens and where most candidates hit a massive timing roadblock, I want to pause our session for a quick second. If you are serious about unlocking the top mark bands and you are finding this deep dive valuable, you need to subscribe to the channel right now. It's Ace the Exam's IGCSE O&A levels with the handle @acetheexam_IGCSE. Go ahead and click that subscribe button on your screen and absolutely make sure you enable all notifications. Hit that bell icon. We drop Cambridge breakthrough strategies weekly and you cannot afford to miss them. All right, let's get back to the roadblock. Step 4, execute. This is where you actually do the math, and you must do it with clear notation. This is where our candidate Sam usually panics about timing and rushes the paragraph linking. The cognitive strategy to get unstuck here is to explicitly map your calculation directly to a written point. Step 5 is verify. Look at your result. Does a gearing ratio of 90% make logical sense for a low-risk retail business? If not, check your math. Finally, Step 6, present. Format your answer following strict accounting conventions using proper headings. Follow these 6 steps relentlessly and you will harvest method marks like never before.
Let's transition into Section 3, Critical Evaluation. I want you to memorize this loop. Deconstruct, solve, evaluate. This is the absolute engine for critical analysis, and it is how you build a flawless, full-mark response paragraph by paragraph. First, you deconstruct the given information. Then you solve the problem systematically. But here is the critical part. You do not stop there. The majority of candidates stop at solve. To get into the top band, you must then evaluate and justify. What does evaluative thinking actually look like? It means actively questioning the assumptions presented in the prompt. It means considering the perspective of different stakeholders. How do the existing shareholders feel about the new equity issue versus the debenture holders? When you make your final justified recommendation on a specific source of finance, you have to run a reasonableness check based on the precise nature of the business entity in the question. A tech startup and a 100-year-old manufacturing firm do not evaluate risk the same way, and your answer needs to reflect that reality.
Welcome to the interactive pause and practice workshop segment of the masterclass. We are going to put theory into practice right now. I'm going to introduce your secret weapon for top band evaluation, comparative analysis. Imagine I'm putting a complex data chart on your screen right now showing a company deciding between a bank loan and a rights issue. True comparative analysis requires identifying both similarities and differences, and the linguistic trick to showing the examiner you are doing this is using comparative connectives. Words like whereas, conversely, on the other hand, or in contrast. If you are just listing facts in isolated paragraphs, a bank loan has interest, a rights issue dilutes control. You are failing to evaluate. You aren't connecting the dots. top-scoring candidates draw direct, aggressive comparisons. They will say, while a rights issue permanently dilutes existing shareholder control, a bank loan, conversely, preserves ownership but introduces a mandatory fixed cost, increasing financial risk. Do you hear the difference? They support the comparison with evidence from the stimulus data, and they draw a definitive conclusion about relative importance. It has to be a dynamic, flowing argument, not a static, bulleted list.
Now for the most crucial part of our masterclass, Section 4, Examiner Traps.
For part 2 of our visual workshop, we are going to play Spot the Flaw. I want to starkly lay out the top 3 mistakes that absolutely destroy grades, straight from our principal examiner reports. Number 1, vague answers. Number 2, forgetting format and presentation conventions. And number 3, lacking specific context. If I showed you a poorly written student answer right now, I guarantee you would spot these 3 flaws immediately. The student uses a generic definition, they write a huge block of text with no subheadings, and they talk about a business instead of the specific manufacturing business mentioned in the prompt. I want you to burn this exact list of 3 into your memory. This is exactly how smart, prepared candidates who actually know the material end up hemorrhaging easy marks. They fall right into the examiner's traps.
Let's really drill down and contrast a vague answer with a top-tier answer packed with specific contextual details. Imagine a candidate writes, "A bank loan will cost money and increase risk." Let me be blunt. That demonstrates absolutely zero analytical depth. It could apply to any business in the world. It will score practically nothing. Now, look at how a master candidate writes it. A $50,000 bank loan at an 8% interest rate will increase fixed costs by $4,000 annually. This is highly detrimental, as it will worsen the company's already high gearing ratio of 65%, as seen in Appendix 1, making them incredibly vulnerable to future interest rate hikes. Do you see the massive difference there? Examiners are actively, aggressively hunting for answers that are anchored strictly in the provided stimulus materials. You cannot just regurgitate textbook theory. You must apply your knowledge to the exact, specific entity operating in the unique scenario provided in the question. That is how you dominate the marking scheme.
This leads us directly to a massive examiner alert. We call this the terminology trap. Year over year, reports show that candidates consistently blur and confuse key terminology when discussing sources of finance. They mix up liquidity with profitability, or they misuse the concept of gearing. The master strategy to beat this? It's simple but incredibly effective. Always define your terms before you use them in an extended response. It literally takes 5 seconds to write a crisp definition of gearing or working capital before launching into your complex multi-stage analysis. But that 5-second investment instantly secures your knowledge and understanding marks, those AO1s, and it psychologically proves to the examiner right from the first sentence that you know exactly what you are talking about. Consider this a non-negotiable step in your paragraph structure.
To help you manage all of this cognitive load in the high-pressure environment of the exam room, here is a fantastic tactical strategy directly from our source material. Create a memory hack. Specifically, you need to build a personalized acronym for the core factors affecting sources of finance for business entities. You're dealing with factors like cost, control, risk, flexibility, and gearing. Organize those concepts into a single, memorable word or phrase that makes sense to you. When you are under immense exam pressure, staring down the clock in those last few minutes, and you need to generate a highly structured evaluation paragraph out of thin air, that acronym is going to save you. It becomes the reliable skeleton that you build your brilliant, specific, and contextualized arguments upon. It ensures you never blank on a key point when the pressure is at its peak.
So, as we wrap up this masterclass, let's synthesize everything into our 3 core memorable pillars. The 3-step question scan to identify command words, the paragraph balance formula, balancing facts with context, and the last 5 minutes review checklist to verify your logic. My final provocative question to you is this. Are you ready to deconstruct, solve, and evaluate your way straight to the top mark band? We have relentlessly explored the core principles, the exact technical methodology of method marks, the absolute art of comparative critical evaluation, and the specific traps you must avoid. The strategy is laid out perfectly. Now the execution is entirely in your hands. I want you to take this exact blueprint and apply it immediately to past paper questions, because crushing Cambridge exams requires consistent strategy, not just memorization. Before you go, hit that subscribe button for Ace the Exam's IGCSE O and A levels at acetheexam_IGCSE. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an exam hack, and drop a comment down below right now with your target grade to lock in that commitment. Keep pushing your analytical depth, trust the process, and I will see you in the next masterclass.